that slaps.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Still Slaps Music Reviews. Today we have on deck DJ Khaled's new album review. We've got Khaled Khaled, the name of the album. I'm H.E.R, songwriter and rapper here for Still Slaps. Thank you guys for joining me today for this review. Please subscribe and like if you could, and consider donating to the channel if you're messing with the reviews. We've got a bunch of more content coming for you guys, and thank you for bearing with me in the circumstances of me reviewing from my car in the process of moving. So just kind of recording on the go as I can. So thank you guys for checking out. So to get the review started, this is no surprise. If you know DJ Khaled, you know by now that DJ Khaled is one of the biggest producer artists that's been in the game for quite some time now. Got a lot of great catalog songs, hip-hop songs, big songs under his belt. He's definitely gained a lot of his stripes over the years. Credits himself to be the kind of the executive producer who really may not have really a touch on the records, but really more or so input, kind of like a big A&R producer type of guru. You know, obviously you think of Quincy Jones and you think of people like that. By no means is DJ Khaled a Quincy Jones by any stretch of imagination. This album is not really getting a lot of positive criticism, and I want to be one of the first reviewers, if it hasn't been said already. I will credit this album on the positive side for being for being just a kind of a leeway, a guideline into the future drops that we are going to obviously be seeing from a lot of big artists, like a H.E.R, like a Lil Baby, like a DaBaby, and Meg Thee Stallion, all these big industry names that are on this track list. Because obviously we've been going through just an insane amount of depression, whether it be from the news, whether it be from, you know, personal aspects. So it's really good. I will credit the album for being that album that strived to be just a good time. All in all, the album strives to be a great sound in sonics, and just a great delivery when it comes to these big artists who are coming on and trying to really get you in the outside spirit, based on obviously the times that we're in with the pandemic and everything like that, kind of lightening up a little bit, and restrictions, and you know what the governments are allowing for people who are trying to get back outside. Now, with that said, I do feel like this track list, if we're really being honest with ourselves, this track list really did fall short sonically when it came down to the mixing. The engineering on this thing in a lot of areas is very, 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 very just doo-doo juice. Very, very poor. Some of these performances, unfortunately, they suffered because of the big mistake. Shouldn't be that way. It shouldn't be that way. These are some of the biggest names in the game that you're talking about, and for someone like Khaled to think that he can get away with, you know, getting with whatever engineers that he got with, and you don't have that mix in the sonics, you don't have that cohesion that it should be there from industry level names, it kind of just goes to tell you, like, oh, well, what type of effort are these artists going to be doing outside of the project that they're featured on? It's as big of an industry cookout placement, huge album that you can ask for, and you know, rightly so, like I said. But really, a lot of this did suffer based off of the engineering just flaws all over this thing, and it's a shame. Some of these records barely made my album slappers list, including my favorite track on the record, which is Just Be featuring JT, the one and only. I did a separate reaction video for that. You guys can click in the links below if you want to check that out, because I knew that record would be slept on based on the Justin Timberlake big smear campaign that Justin Timberlake has been going through for the past couple of years. But besides the point, for my album slappers, I have Thankful, I have Popstar, I have I Can Have It All, and I've got Just Be. That's only a few, and it shouldn't be, because this thing is full of just great talent. We know what we know what Lil Baby is doing right now. These guys are killing it, and unfortunately, in a lot of aspects, you just have that those flaws are just too big, and it's a shame. Shame on Khaled if he made the final go. Shame on whoever decided to make the final call that this thing had to be released in this state, because it's unfortunate how bad it is. So one of the things I want to talk about for Thankful, we see DJ Khaled doing what he did on his last project, and this was a huge flaw for me. DJ Khaled made one of the biggest sins, him and whatever producer, whatever engineer, one of the biggest musical sins that DJ Khaled committed on his last project, goes by the name of the track Just Us, featuring SZA. DJ Khaled thought it would be a great idea to take SZA, one of the biggest R&B acts, pop acts of in the game right now, repping TDE, rightly so. She's a great artist. She's very pretty, and she can hold her weight on a track, and she makes great records. But DJ Khaled thought it would be a good idea on his last project to take a sample of one of the most iconic Atlanta rap groups, that is Outkast, and sample Miss Jackson. And not only that, this sample was a very, very poor rendition of that sample of a classic hip-hop record that is a favorite of mine from Outkast and a favorite of many hip-hop lovers. And I have never forgave DJ Khaled for making that decision, because that was truly a red flag to me, and perhaps a sign of terrible, disastrous outcomes that we are now seeing ourselves in the position of talking about this record. Fast forward today, DJ Khaled thought it would be a good idea, him and whoever else thought it would be a good idea to take this Thankful record featuring Jeremiah and Lil Wayne, thought it would be a good idea to take a rendition, a sample of Kanye West, Heart of the City from Jay-Z's classic album. Obviously, people consider A Reasonable Doubt to be a classic, rightly so. A lot of great production on there, etc. But DJ Khaled thought it would be a great idea to do what he did on Just Us with SZA and take a classic hip-hop banger, right? Heart of the City, that sample is undeniable. Kanye West put his whole knife into that production, that beat. Thought it would be a great idea to take that and just do the ungodly, which is take this instrumental and put these just overbearing harmonic gospel-esque harmonies in the background of this beat. And it's not that they sound bad, they sound good, but on the engineer front, he took this beat, this instrumental, and it sounds like the harmonies for this that gospel choir that he used sounds like it is way too loud. It sounds, even when Jeremiah is trying to come in and give his performance, and obviously big up to Jeremiah. If you haven't been reading the headlines of what Jeremiah has been through recently with his COVID situation, really dope that he pulled through. But in a moment like this, where he deserves all of the attention, even above Wayne, I'm gonna say, because it's just really shown how he can really come out of the dust. And this record was a really good spot for Jeremiah to be able to really enunciate that he has made it this far through his trial and tribulation, and it was great. Wayne's performance, it was you know, Wayne's doing Wayne, and that's, you know, that's that. This made my slapper list only because of Wayne, Wayne taking that little rendition that he did. I don't know if you guys noticed, but he did a cool little rendition where he took Kendrick Lamar's like flow on Humble, He took that sit down, be humble. He kind of took that and he put it into his verse. And I thought that that was pretty cool. I was like, all right, cool. He's giving a nod to Kendrick. And it was blatantly obvious that he did it. And I thought it was dope that he did it because you don't really see too much of that now. Obviously, POPSTAR, it's kind of a cheat code. This record came out well before the album dropped, obviously. It was what Khaled led with, POPSTAR. And POPSTAR still slaps. It's a great, the production's banging. Drake's cadence, I think Drake's vocal performance here was very interesting. The way he decided to go with those inflections, the way he decided to go with that, I think it was really, really interesting for him to do that. I think he made the performance that much more interesting. I feel like that type of cadence that he went with was very, very interesting over top of that, over top of this beat. It was a very interesting choice. So I credit Drake for that. And there was obviously a couple of slick type of Jay-Z type delivery lines. I don't drive a joint, I gotta stick by keying. That was very sick. Very slick. Bryson Tiller, H.E.R, and Meek Mill. I feel like we'll start with Bryson Tiller. He shows up a couple of times on this album. Obviously, if you're watching this, you know. Or if you're watching before listening, Bryson Tiller is one of the ones that shows up quite a bit. He did his thing on this one. I feel like his performance definitely was, you know, it was a walk in the park for him. He's been kind of, you know, getting back into his lane with his performances, and he definitely pulled weight. H.E.R is another one of the bigger acts on this album that definitely does save a lot of this album from being thrown in the dumpster. I think in this instance, she in certain areas in her verse, like I said, the mixing was terrible on a lot of this record, a lot of this album. But H.E.R, I think she had a great little input on the chorus. I think that she definitely was in the right place lyrically for her delivery, and I feel like she definitely gives the track a boost. She gives it power. Side note, she also does that pretty well on the Migos record. We Going Crazy with her in the Migos. Even though I think that placement is very poor, her and Migos don't really have much in common. I mean, props to them if they wanted to do something different when adding this placement, but I do feel like it doesn't really do much. They went for that reggae tone, which it's whatever, you know. If it's on outside, you're gonna jam to it, and rightly so. Meek Mill, on back to when we're talking about I Can Have It All, Meek Mill really came out with his cadence that he's known for. Obviously, it was nothing really too much of a difference that Meek Mill was doing. He really brought the energy and really stood out in the mix with his delivery, his cadence. So yeah, I Can Have It All. I feel like the effort was just too outstanding to not put it on my album slapper, so it's on there. And then we get to the last one, Just Be, featuring one of my favorites, Justin Timberlake, even despite what he's going through right now with his smear campaign and people trying to bring him down. Justin had the best record on this album, hands down. I don't care what anybody says. Justin's record proved to me that Justin, whenever he got the call from Khaled or whatever, whether or not it was Justin's decision to go the unique route and not, you know, try and get on a track list with any of these bigger artists, I thought it was dope of Justin to be able to get his own spotlight, especially, like I said, for what he's been going through. Segue into the lyrical content of this record. The lyrical content of this record was something like I mentioned in the reaction video that you guys could check out below. Justin really got into a lyrical place where I feel like he's supposed to be at this point in his career. He didn't try to do any slick, typical love bop record that he's done in the past. He really was lyrically getting into a space that a lot of these artists on here unfortunately failed to really get into. We talked on the Justin Bieber review, if you guys have seen that before. We talked about how Justin really kind of shied away from the controversy, but he decided to go get MLK samples and flood them on his record, when clearly we know that he had it in him to write a record where he could say get into more of that controversial, you know, kind of that monster bag that he got into with Shawn Mendes. Justin finds himself getting into that bag lyrically on Just Be, and he does it really well with his harmonies, with a lot of that soulful, melodic. This record reminded me of one of the best records off of the last Khaled album, which was H.E.R, featuring the late Nipsey Hussle. Obviously, it put a lot of people in their feelings. This record to me stood out. It told me that Justin didn't want to go the typical route that a lot of these big industry artists did. A lot of these acts on here, they could have given their all and provided a Just Be like Justin did. And I think that it just goes to show you the maturity that Justin Timberlake is at now in his career, and wanting to, you know, go the extra mile and not really do what a lot of the standard pop acts are doing at this point in time in their career. So, I mean, yeah, people are gonna hate me for saying it, but Just Be is definitely the best record on this album. I don't know how you can overlook that. A lot of people will overlook that, you know, but this is me, Hubey, saying it's the best one on the album. The only downfall is the engineer was very stupid and did this with a lot of tracks that are flooded throughout this album. The engineer put those stupid little giggles on a lot of these records, and I'm like, why are you doing that? That doesn't make any sense. That doesn't contribute to this. It's not a joke, especially on one of the best records of this album. Just Be. What are you doing? There's no need to do that. There's no need for it. It sounds idiotic. It sounds childish. This record was like going to a basketball intramural game, and you know, if you were expecting LeBron to hop out and start playing, this was a bunch of pros playing in the worst of worst gymnasiums you can imagine, in the mix of a bunch of people who had no idea what they were doing, whether that be the engineers, the mix, the co-writers, whoever. And it was just bad, because of a lot of the execution is just god awful. It could just be background noise for a lot of outside events, for a lot of outside, you know, gatherings, which a lot of people are going to be doing with restrictions lighting up. So, you know, that's that. If you guys were feeling this record, let me know in the comments. What were your favorite tracks on the album? What did you like about it? What did you dislike? I will say, side note, there was, like I said in the review, there's a bunch of features that did their job in certain instances. The Nas and the Jay-Z feature was okay, but that's all it was. It was okay. And for them, it was a shame because it's Nas and Jay-Z, but Cardi B did have some slick lines on her record. I will say that Cardi B definitely had some slick quotables. Whoever co-wrote that with her, definitely props to them. Please consider donating to the channel. When you donate, you are giving more to have our production go up. You're giving more to our promotion for our videos, and you're definitely just supporting. Thank you for that. If not, please leave a like or a dislike. If you're not feeling it, that's cool too. Comment what you guys thought, please share, and thank you guys once again for stopping by. Once again, DJ Khaled Khaled album review still slaps. Hubey, peace, guys.